The Alex Jones Show, because there is a war on for your mind.
Ladies and gentlemen, the globalists are in full retreat. They are in total panic mode. But you better believe they can still throw a devastating right hook at us while we're savoring our victories. Get ready for the empire to strike back, ladies and gentlemen. Wow. We're going to play this John Bound report. We're going to come back after the break and then lay it all out. We are witnessing the collapse of the New World Order, the collapse of the criminal ruling class. They are absolutely panicking. Stay with us.
Former President Obama continues to do the dirty work of George Soros and the United Nations just 2 miles away from the White House, continuing to take his community organizer presidency into the hearts and minds of America. The Organize for Action site reads, with more than 250 local chapters around the country, OFA volunteers are building this organization from the ground up, community by community, one conversation at a time, whether that's on a front porch or on Facebook. We are committed to finding and training the next generation of great progressive organizers, because at the end of the day, we aren't the first to fight for progressive change, and we won't be the last. The site reads. Meanwhile, the trail leading to the genesis of the fictional narrative of the Trump-Russia collusion plaguing the agenda of the Trump administration has finally turned up in Obama and Hillary Clinton's backyards. The New York Post reports the Senate Judiciary Committee earlier this month threatened to subpoena the firm, Fusion GPS, after it refused to answer questions and provide records to the panel identifying who financed the error-ridden dossier, which was circulated during the election and has sparked much of the Russia scandal now engulfing the White House. Fusion GPS was on the payroll of an unidentified Democratic ally of Clinton when it hired a long-retired British spy to dig up dirt on Trump. In 2012, Democrats hired Fusion GPS to uncover dirt on GOP presidential nominee Mitt Romney. More, federal records show a key co-founder and partner in the firm was a Hillary Clinton donor and supporter of her presidential campaign. In September 2016, while Fusion GPS was quietly shopping the dirty dossier on Trump around Washington, its co-founder and partner Peter R. Fritsch contributed at least $1,000 to the Hillary Victory Fund and the Hillary for America campaign. FEC data shows. His wife also donated money to Hillary's campaign.
The Clinton campaign at the time was using all kinds of euphemisms, security review, matters, things like that for what was going on. We were getting to a place where the Attorney General and I were both going to have to testify and talk publicly about it. And I wanted to know, was she going to authorize us to confirm we had an investigation? And she said, yes, but don't call it that, call it a matter. And I said, why would I do that? And she said, just call it a matter. And again, you look back in hindsight, you think, should I have resisted harder? I just said, all right, this isn't a hill worth dying on. And so I just said, okay, the press is going to completely ignore it.
What the Winocrats were afraid of is just around the corner. The State Department just opened a formal inquiry into Hillary Clinton's mishandling of classified information. And former Attorney General Loretta Lynch will face questions surrounding her manipulation of the FBI probe into Hillary's emails. Senators on the Judiciary Committee want to know if Lynch assured former DNC Chair Wasserman Schultz that the FBI probe would go away, while Schultz led a sinister backstabbing operation against Bernie Sanders. Nothing lasts forever, Winocrats, especially when that house of cards is all built on lies.
There are a few things that break faith with America and the American people and undermine their trust in their government more than witnessing the highest law enforcement officer in the land blatantly ignoring the crystal clear meaning and equal protection and equal enforcement of the laws as they are written. And Madam Attorney General, I think such an abrogation of your official duties and responsibility, not just a matter of what will be writ large in the annals of your own legacy, it's something rather that goes to the very heart of the rule of law in a republic that so many lying out in Arlington National Cemetery have died to keep.
John Bound for Infowars.com.
All right, folks, start your engines. All systems are go. President Trump has taken the gloves off with MSM in a big way. We're about to break down the collapse, the final days of MSM. You can mark this as the time on your calendar when they started a revolution, pushing violence. Again, thank you so much for joining us, ladies and gentlemen. I am Alex Jones, your host. We are going to be live here for the next 4 hours. What an amazing time to be alive. It is simply incredible. I am almost speechless at this point. The amount of incredible news that is just breaking by the second. And to see the discredited MSM go from outlandish, incredible lies and just complete walls of fraud, oceans of deception, to now only intensifying that to shrill, foaming at the mouth, temper tantrums. This is a corrupt multinational elite that has come in and exploited our country, exploited other nations, consolidated power, pushed for global tyranny to cement their hold, and now humanity is awake to it. And so now they're fighting for their lives. And to maintain control, they've only intensified the amount of fake news that they've been putting out. And now that everyone's watching it, it's blowing up in their face in real time, minute by minute. It's quite a spectacle. And yes, MSM has gone from almost no viewers to having a dead cat bounce the last 2 years in this election cycle and this great time of change. But still, it's dismal. But it's like a star as it begins to burn out and go supernova. It glows brighter for a time, or like a light bulb that glows bright for just a few seconds and then goes dim, or someone on their deathbed the last few minutes a lot of times comes back to life and has electricity in their eyes. You're seeing the gargling death rattle of MSM right now. You're seeing them grasp on to their great lust of deceiving and harpooning the Western mind and dragging it into the abyss of control freak garbage. Look at these headlines. Trump rips Amazon, Washington Post as fake news. He should address the nation from the Oval Office and declare them foreign enemies of the Republic who have openly sought to overthrow the country and bankrupt our nation. It's in their own WikiLeaks. It's in their own admissions. They want a system of poverty to control us. It is a conspiracy against prosperity, conspiracy against men and women and children, a conspiracy against families. And now Trump comes out and points out that Amazon's Washington Post got $600 million from Obama's CIA months before Trump took office to run the lie factory, the swindle factory, trying to rob the American people of their birthright and trying to push us into war with Russia so CNN can get some ratings. That's what they tell the producers. Oh, we're getting ratings with this. We're getting a lot of advertising funding from big corporations to do this. CNN. Very, very, very fake news. It's beyond the clown news network or the communist news network. It is wannabe elite class that wants to prey on intellectual endeavors and pose as if they are the fountain, the fount, the progenitor, the headwaters of art and culture and everything. And you see it in all the metrics. Hollywood and mainstream media is all being rejected. There's nothing more uncool than being establishment. There's nothing more pathetic and more wretched and more putrid and more stinking than being with the establishment. That's the spirit of Americana, is the maverick culture. A maverick idea of the respect of the common man and woman and the trailblazer and the striver, and admiring people that are ranchers and farmers and inventors and mechanics and real people on the ground, celebrating our families, celebrating freedom, celebrating that we're not part of the royal class. Alexander de Tocqueville, the famous French historian, spent many years after the Revolutionary War traveling the United States, and he said, this is the American future. This is the American century. This is the American system. Nothing will defeat this if they simply stay this way. They hate elites. They hate all of the people on their red carpets. They hate everybody acting like they're part of the establishment. They hate royalty. They hate titles. They hate elites claiming that they have a divine right to rule. And if Hollywood and the Washington scumbaggery is not the very definition of that, then nothing is. It is an extreme honor to have the discredited enemies of America like The Nation and these big foundation-funded systems and the New York Times and the Washington Post and every other major elite publication come out and call me a criminal, call me a racist, call me a swindler, call me everything but what they are. And we know what they are. We know what their tastes are. Vampiric scum. They run the gambit of vampiric behavior. But it's all about destroying innocence, all about destroying will, all about destroying creativity and personal independence and personal destiny. It's about stealing free will and stealing destiny and stealing the magic that should be in your eyes staring into the universe. Alex Jones is a practiced swindler, just like his biggest fan, Eric Alterman, on all his little dozens of titles and the think tanks and foundations he's on. And, ooh, I mean, a bunch of regurgitated crap. And again, I'll pick maybe one article a day out of hundreds, just to show how it's all the same cut and paste, mixed together, blended baloney. Just total lies. And you read it, it's crazy. You could disprove any part of this line by line, but it would take hours and hours to dissect it. Here's just one example that I'm getting into the big news. It says Jones, according to BuzzFeed's insiders, would go out and buy a Life Straw for $10 and sell it for $50. Or Jones would make them drive down their price to $25. What? We've never sold it for more than $25. But again, the point is they just take these lies and then vomit it back into each other's mouths. And the more they launder the lies, the more they recycle them. The more they say they're true. And there's no spending time even talking to these people. They don't really interview you. They only pretend to interview you so they can pretend that they're really reporters. But just that one example. That one example, I said, just retract this one story, this one piece where Life Straws and other survival straws on the market sell between $20 and $30. We always want to be competitive and try to be as close to Amazon as we can. I mean, we're on the low end of that. We've never, Jones made them sell them, for $25. What? And then turned around and sold them for $50? What? Just totally, completely from their inside source, this is the type of stuff these people make up. It's incredible. But see, all they're doing is trying to troll us and troll you to make themselves relevant. They're not. That's why I usually don't even cover their lies and deception. It says Jones tries to find failing products that no one wants. No, I try to find the most cutting-edge products that everyone wants. Duh, isn't that how capitalism works? I mean, I don't even know how they come up with these weird lies, because it's like something you have in a hallucination when you have the flu or something. It's crazy. They go on to say it's crazy that we sell knockout sleep aid. And they say I'm a fraud and a swindler. Ladies and gentlemen, knockout is melatonin, L-tryptophan, valerian root, lemon balm, and other compounds 100% proven to trigger chemical reactions in the brain that improve sleep. I mean, that's a fact. They've been selling melatonin on store shelves for 60 years. I'm selling the same thing Bezos is selling at Whole Foods that he owns now. But that's okay. See, he's allowed to sell melatonin. I can't. I'm an evil person because the anointed ones said so. Well, guess what? You're not the anointed ones anymore. and we're cleaning your clocks, and we're infiltrating your organizations, not with made-up stuff that you just pull out of your rear end, but with video of CNN going, the whole Russia thing's BS. We're just getting pushed to do this by our bosses. We lie to the public. How about that? Just like Megyn Kelly. They go, is it ethical he taped her? Of course, she's a liar. She has no credibility. She's a fraud. So I had to record her to show she was a liar. I knew it was a hit piece. She's not even important enough for us to get around to releasing all the tapes, which we're going to do. I've told Du and others that are in there monkeying around with them to wait on it. When I say monkey, that's in open transparency, because they monkeyed with it. And so it takes a lot of time and energy to find where I say something 15 minutes before or an hour before or 10 minutes before, and then they sandwich it together in another clip and a jump cut. So I say something I never said. That takes a lot of time, of hours and hours of stuff to go find. Here's where she edited it. Here's what I actually said. Kind of like she did. I'm going to skip this break, guys. Kind of like she did. Only one of the day, though. Kind of like she did whenever she had that Fox show, and she said, here's a clip of Jones saying Hillary kills children in the bottom of a basement. I was talking about her funding jihadis, killing children, selling women into sex slavery all over the Middle East, financing the Arab Spring. And it was in the same 2-minute clip. They just cut the front and the back off. We went and showed you what I really said with the video of me saying it, no edits, no cuts, except on the front and the end. You know, we cut in when the ads are over, and we, cut out when I moved on another subject. But unedited, boom, here's what I said, versus her fake news. I knew if she would do stuff like that and play dumb with me. She called me, I called her back. I started bringing that up to her. She said, I don't remember that. I didn't do that. And I said, hold on one moment. Fished around, had another backup phone, didn't even have a record app on my phone. I have a record app where you can record outside, but not an app that records the phone call itself on your phone. So I started recording on one phone and recorded her in the car. And of course it was ethical what I did. I released it. Basically unedited. There's stuff about her kids, my kids I cut out. But in the interest of fairness, I think I might release the whole thing, just bleep the names. Because there's about 5 minutes we cut out. So I'm not just going to release the Megyn Kelly tapes so the media can pick and choose what it wants and edit those again. I'm going to release in chunks where she edited the piece and deceived, and then the chunk, say 5 minutes, of what I really said. And then I'm just going to go chunk, 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 chunk. And it'll be like a college course. Here's how the old whore media lies. Here's how the Decepticon dinosaur media deceives. Here's how they play their games. Here's what I really said. Here's what she did. Here's what I really said. Here's what she did. This is what you want. This is what you get. This is what you want. This is what you get. And by the way, those little classes, those little tutorials online will have millions of listeners and viewers per video. And in the aggregate will dwarf her pathetic 3.5 million when I was on. When she took over the show, it was at 7 million. By the time the dead cat was halfway dropping from the atmosphere on its way to Hades, it was 3.5. Now it's less than 3 million last Sunday as she accelerates into oblivion. I love how they're like trying to destroy me and saying I'm a charlatan and a racist and a criminal and all these things. And it's only making us bigger and stronger. And now they have true horror in their arrogant little eyes. Lesser men and women who imagined that because the great sleeping giant was sleeping, they had bested us. The great Lilliputians of the world, out to show their dominance aggressively and hatefully against the world and against America. Now their hopes and dreams, the insane psychotic visions of Hollywood possessing their operating systems, begin their retrograde descent back into the atmosphere as they will burn like falling demons from the sky. And their explosions and their incinerations will be merriment in our eyes as we toast around our fires under the great trees that God has provided us. Your fall is complete. I love it. And still in your delirium, in your delusional psychosis, you've not even begun to realize that we're not letting go of you. It's not you that's not letting go of us. We have you in our jaws. We have you in our sights. We are going to run you over politically. We are going to celebrate every facet of your wart-covered hide until our children know every centimeter of your stinking serpent-like soul. You will be caged, and we will stare upon you and know and ask ourselves, how was it that this creature, Madeleine Albright, that this creature, Hillary Clinton, that this creature, Barack Obama, that this creature, George Soros, that this creature, Michael Moore, that this creature, Megyn Kelly, caused so much trouble? How was it that a bunch of people wearing nightgowns, 80% of them on welfare, running around wiping their asses with their own hands, come into our country and dictate what's on the school lunch program? How is it? No, the trance is broken. The trance is broken, and we're not offering some utopia, far from it, but the wild, wild, freebooting West. We're not offering the chained nanny state of old. No, but the destiny of freedom of the future. And it really hit me, and everybody said this, everybody knows this, but it just really hit me how strong this is, how true this is. The liberals are like Arrested Development toddlers, throwing fits, running around, trying to dominate and control people's lives. Anybody who's had children know. But especially once they become teenagers, no matter how good they are on average, they start wanting to run your life. They start getting irritated by the clothes you wear or the carpet you bought or the car you have or the way you talk or what you do, and they want to run your life. Because it's almost time for them to leave the nest and actually run their life and discover it. It's a normal instinct that they want to leave your nest. It's normal instinct. But see, Arrested Development, basement dwellers, they, and I mean that metaphysically, they don't want to leave, but they want to make you drive them around, wipe their butts, take care of them, and they have a disdain for you because they're projecting it onto you. They know they're parasites. From the Hollywood parasites and all the broke-back fake writers out there like Eric Alterman and all these jokes that no amount of titles will ever change the fact that they're scum, they come from scum, they're never any good in history, and they are of their father failure. You are cancer. And you know your filth. You know your trash. You know your losers. You know your babies. You know you want to pull everybody else down so you feel big. Sorry, Daddy's home. Daddy woke up. The games are over. And you want war? You're going to get one. This is only the beginning. And see, they thought they were strangling us. Now they realize we're awake and strangling them, and they're scared trying to pull away. And we're looking back in their eyes saying, no, that's not how this works now. This is a fight you wanted, and it's a fight you're going to get. What illustrates this is the video on Infowars.com of liberals who got grants to go out and train for self-defense for the coming civil war. And then they're so mentally ill, they at the events pretend that they're training because we're assaulting them. No, you're assaulting us, and you know that. 30 to 1, they're being arrested for violence everywhere. We've all seen the evidence. I've been on the ground. I've witnessed it. But then in their own operating system, they're still the victim, and then it looks like nerds from Napoleon Dynamite or something, like a joke movie where you would show like the most chicken-necked weaklings combat training. This is the greatest unintentional comedy ever seen on Earth. Watch, the left prepares for war with new self-defense training club. I mean, it is just amazing how these people are controlled by foreign banks. Their whole ideology is a psychological warfare system. They are the biggest failure dweebies controlled by the globalists, not even knowing that they're useful idiots. And now they can barely even do a push-up, and they're combat training now for the coming war that they've already started, but that they believe we've launched. The Haymaker Collective. I mean, this, ladies and gentlemen, is awesome. Because you know why? This is the beginning of them rediscovering their humanity. So they were taught, be pathetic, be part of a large group, act like you're passive. Everyone will give you a position as long as you're a good servant of this. And the fact that they're abandoning that, the fact that they're at least realizing they need to become strong, even though they have the wrong enemy, is the beginning of them rediscovering an atmosphere, rediscovering gravity, rediscovering that you need stress to actually be stronger, that the avoidance of stress is what creates entropy and rotting stagnant systems. And so they get lazier and lazier and lazier and more selfish with their time and what they do until they're totally soft, totally unhappy, and then see other people driving their big trucks, shooting their guns, working 12 hours a day, having fun, being aggressive. And it's scary to them to hear a man chuckle. It's scary to them to see a man slap his wife on the rear end and her laugh at it. It's scary to see people's cars open up and children boiling out with electrical energy and building things. These people go, ah, I don't want that. I don't want the cool kids around me. They want to pull down their own civilization. They're domesticated. They're toddlers. But in the fact that liberals now are all over the news, and they're the newest, biggest group, buying guns, saying, I'm preparing for civil war with the right-wingers. Thank God you just joined us and didn't know it. The Second Amendment is for a tyrannical government. You've got the wrong government in mind. You think America's the enemy, but you're going to flip sides in the end, just like the German soldiers they brought over here by the tens of thousands, had the highest defection rate Hessians ever had. They never had Hessians defecting. They came over here, they said, this is great, we're joining you. Yeah, great, let's do it. Go out, train, get your guns, march up mountains, become humans again, good. And then by the time you climb that mountain, you're going to turn around and look me in the eyes and see yourself, and we're going to reach out and shake hands and hug each other, and we're going to go to the stars. Join humanity, defeat the Satanists.
We're on the march. The empire's on the run.
The left prepares for war with new self-defense training club. I thought you could just teach us all to be passive and everything that would fix everything. That was the big social engineering program. The globalists admitted that was for outward consumption. They wanted a servile group so the hyper-predators could enslave everybody. And that's what we now face. It's like the headlines everywhere. The war on science we witness, where most of the scientists and the astrophysicists and climatologists say it's the sun driving it, and we have these 10,000-year cycles and 100-year cycles and 11-year cycles, and they can predict it with total precision. They know when there's solar flares that hit the Earth, that is the electromagnetic radiation, that's why clear blue skies suddenly have thunderstorms everywhere in a few hours. That's what the Pentagon goes off of for weather for more than 50 years, is sunspots. But they have all these compartmentalized groups that go, no, meteorologist groups, we just say it's all what's on Earth and, what's happening here. And then the UN has a vote 6 years ago to say, we vote and say the sun is not the driver of climate, it's humans. If we didn't have the sun, we'd be absolute zero. There'd be no life. But they go, oh, that's a conspiracy theory. Oh, mainstream media is saying, in Venezuela, no one believes that the helicopter attack was real because no one's been arrested, and for 2 hours, no one tried to stop the helicopter shooting and bombing the building. It looks like a false flag. Think so? Shooting, bombing it with hand grenades for 2 hours? No one even fights back? Gee, think it might be a staged event to make the police state look okay? I'm not saying it is. I'm saying that's normal to ask that of a discredited government that's been caught lying more times than Pinocchio ever thought about. More times than Bill Clinton ever thought about. And then the story doesn't add up. Gee, could it be a false flag? I got up early this morning at like 5 a.m. Went back to sleep for about an hour. But I got up about 5 a.m. I don't know why that little factoid matters. And I said, that's a false flag. And then soon enough, I got up later. It's all over the news. False flag. False flag. Fake, stage, no one believes it's real. Conspiracies abound after bizarre Venezuela helicopter incident. That's from Bloomberg. But see, only Bloomberg can question. It's the anointed one. Oh, you can question and say Trump's a liar. You can question this and that and say things aren't real and give out alternative ideas, but no one else can. Only the anointed media, only people at The Nation, propped up by foundation money, can't even pay their own way. Only Eric Alterman with all of his titles. Only he can tell you what's real. Roger Stone is joining us from Eastern Europe. He's been over in Hungary and Romania, where they have national parties taking control through the elections against the Soros movement, the IMF, the World Bank, the attempts to open their borders to Islamicists. This is huge news, but another big reason he's on with us is because He's been totally vindicated. Scaramucci, the financier, good friends with Stone, a great patriot in the White House, targeted from the beginning as a Russian agent, has filed a $100 million lawsuit. Now that we have total proof that CNN willfully and knowingly tried to frame him and destroy his name and get him thrown in prison, oh, that jury's not going to like to hear that. They wanted to put him in jail and destroy his self-made fortune, saying he's a Russian agent, knowing it was a lie. These are hardcore patriots in the Trump administration, the ones they're trying to kick out. General Flynn, Scaramucci. Trump rips Amazon's Washington Post as fake news. Trump brands New York Times liars again for writing false story, claiming he doesn't understand the Senate's health bill. He's striking back. CNN faces a $100 million lawsuit over botched Russia story. CNN war with Trump gets personal. New low, CNN uses Sesame Street Elmo to attack Trump's travel ban. They don't know what to do. And then Acosta, the famous liar of CNN, who's always caught doing fake stories but gets rewarded, throws a temper tantrum. That's coming up and says, this isn't America. You're going to conservative media half the time. Oh, my gosh, you don't get the big spotlight only for your little self anymore? But radio and TV networks with more viewers do? That upsets you? You poor little baby. Poor little cuppy cake. The media will do anything to bash Trump, and now they're hurting. That's right. The PP dossier, written up by the Democrats, admittedly to be a fraud. All of it complete lies, just like the stuff about me. Total, whole cloth lies. Did you know my children are with me 80+% of the time? Well, you wouldn't know that reading the newspaper, would you? Because they're liars. It's literal, whole cloth, fantabulous BS. And it's all coming home to roost. Now, I saw this politically 3 weeks ago. I said it on air. I called Stone, and I said, you want to have that celebration? Come to Austin. I didn't want to have a celebration the night of the election. I said, this is the real war starting. They're coming for us. But I can tell you, at my gut level, but also intellectually, Trump has massively turned the corner. Trump is delivering on so many fronts, it's unbelievable. Forget, the taxes are important, but it might take him a year to get that. Healthcare, they're trying to act like that's a defeat, that hasn't got done. Killing TPP, killing the carbon tax, 40+% down on the illegals coming across the border, devolving power back to the states, massive regulation cuts, $3 trillion in the stock market, hundreds and hundreds of billions in new jobs, thousands of companies coming back, the world respecting us again, the highly respected Indian prime minister who's turned India around, hugging Trump on stage. Never does that because they're under Islamic attack. 140 million Hindus have been killed by Muslims in the last 1,000+ years. So this is an epic time. India is the only place in that whole area that held out from the Muslims, folks. 140 million have been killed. They try this brown skin thing. Oh, we don't like Muslims because a lot of them are brown skin. Give me a break, folks. The Indians know. And so this is an incredible time to be alive. Joining us from Europe, I know he's been in Hungary, Romania, you name it, speaking to the presidents and leaders there about the united front against the globalist. Roger Stone, thank you for joining us.
Alex, great to be here. I got to tell you, as I have moved across Budapest and today Bucharest, the number of people who have given me the thumbs up and yelled, InfoWars, InfoWars, Alex Jones, is stunning. You, my friend, are a very popular man here, and you have a very, very strong following.
I know, and so do you, but that's what I'm saying. We're not bragging. I literally can't walk down the street now anywhere. I can go to South America. I can go to Europe. I can go to Canada. We're being mobbed. And again, it's minorities, it's old people, it's young people, which shows us the polls are fake. Plus, we scientifically know they sample 9 to 15 points more Democrat. So Trump's really at what, 60, 65, not 50 in Gallup?
I think that's about right. I totally agree with your analysis that the president has turned the corner on the mainstream media assault on him and the two-party duopoly attempts to destabilize and delegitimize his presidency. To me, the seminal moment was when he said on Twitter, I don't know if there are tapes of James Comey. Certainly possible that the deep state was taping. They've been taping all over the place. They have been recording people and spying. He's finally, I think, turned the table and recognizes that the FISA court ruling some weeks ago that we learned about that chided the Obama administration for the widespread unconstitutional surveillance of American citizens is the key issue to take down the globalists is the key issue to provide for the prosecution of Susan Rice, Valerie Jarrett, and yes, Barack Obama.
And by the way, let me just interrupt, get back to you. They have quadrupled down, though. No coverage of CNN and all the firings and all the people resigning. 3 fake Russia stories in 1 week, all of it imploding. Their own top producer on tape admitting it's all made up to push for war with Russia, pushing us towards World War III for ratings. I mean, total criminality here. And you've been totally vindicated. Scaramucci's been totally vindicated. The whole thing's fake. But you turn on CNN today, they are saying your name every 5 minutes, which isn't that big a deal because hardly anybody watches it. But it shows. And they're still saying, well, maybe Stone isn't a criminal after all, you know, but he did meet with Guccifer. All this made-up crap. As a journalist, of course you contacted Guccifer in a public forum. Who didn't? We tried to contact him as well. I mean, we've been beating down Assange's door. I mean, everybody else can have Assange on, but we can't? Again, it's crazy. So their whole witch hunt is imploding. How does the empire strike back? Because they are in full panic, chicken with their head cut off mode right now.
Well, as you know, Alex, I have agreed to testify for the House Intelligence Committee on July 24th. I was tickled to watch a roundtable on CNN in which one congressman, a congressman, by the way, that I have documentation, has been paying his personal living expenses through his congressional campaign, a felony for which I predict he will go to prison, predicted that I would be going to jail in the Russian scandal. This is laughable. The inference that my contact with Guccifer 2.0, which is entirely public, implies collusion with the Russian state is disproved by the timing, the content, and the context of that content.
And they know that.
It happens, and they know that. They knew it when they made the charge. In fact, Congressman Adam Schiff purposely conflated the dates in which I wrote for Breitbart that Guccifer was not a Russian agent and the date that I began an exchange with him on Twitter direct message, which I released entirely and which is benign. But by reversing the dates, willfully reversing the dates, Schiff attempted to create the impression of wrongdoing that did not, in fact.
And now, what do you make of them all backpedaling? What do you make of Dianne Feinstein signing the letter for the criminal investigation of Loretta Lynch? I mean, is this not the house of cards falling as we speak?
Well, and it has taken some mighty pounding by InfoWars and others in the alternative media. It has only been a question of when the president would recognize that he had the power to turn the table on his enemies. He tried turning the other cheek. He met with Al Gore. He met with Al Sharpton. He said perhaps Hillary shouldn't be prosecuted. He held out the olive.
He invited them to have a seat at the table, but with American prosperity. They made 30+% at Goldman Sachs the first 3 months, and Lloyd Blankfein's response was to try to take out Trump because Blankfein doesn't want the general public to be part of this massive prosperity. He wants it all for himself, and that's their sin.
That's exactly right. The elites want to keep the wealth for themselves. They do not want it to fall into the hands of the American people. Donald Trump is a middle-class American president. He represents the working people of this country, not the Wall Street big shots, not the major financial institutions.
And they're now panicking.
And they just hate it. They just hate it on Wall Street. They hate it.
They've hit us and Trump with everything they've got. As he strengthens, as he gets more hardcore, they vanish like, you know, vampires at daybreak. In your gut, though, how does the empire strike back? I mean, I don't want us to, like the wolf says in Pulp Fiction, start celebrating here too much, but I can see the victory. I can smell it. They have gone into full hysteria mode. They've got brigades of nerds out training for combat now. I mean, they've gone into pure insane asylum because this horrible Trump, you know, wanted them to have a better job and lower taxes.
I think that they have an absolute violent revolution in mind. I have been in Hungary and Romania now meeting with the anti-Soros forces within the democratically elected governments here. And they realize that Soros is a cancer and that he seeks to subvert and overturn the democratically elected governments here through violence. He has spent a fortune planting his people within the government, not only the governments of Hungary and Romania, but let me be very clear, Alex. The U.S. embassies in Budapest and in Bucharest are both completely staffed by George Soros loyalists, people who are doing Soros's bidding.
And they've all got to be removed because they're infiltrators in our country, they're infiltrators in Europe, and they openly are behind the Arab Spring and the Islamic invasion. They have double-crossed us with the radical Muslims. This is high treason. And Hungary and others recognize it, and I salute them. Go ahead.
What's interesting here, of course, is that neither Hungary nor Romania has a substantial Muslim population. This is a real problem.
Because they got overrun about 100 times in the last 1,400 years and barely fought for their lives.
Exactly right. So what has happened here is he is struggling to subvert these democracies. He is definitely in league with the intelligence services here. The intelligence services in both governments are rogue operations, more in line with our CIA than they are with their own government.
They've been exploiting their people just like the deep state here.
Even worse, I think the surveillance, for example, I was briefed on surveillance in Romania today. Lord, half the people in this state are being spied on. Half the people in this country are under surveillance. It's chilling what Soros has in mind. He has to be stopped. These open society institutions that he has set up, which are fronts for terrorism and worse, need to be shut down. He needs to be apprehended, charged, tried, and jailed. That is the answer, in my opinion.
Absolutely. And again, folks, imagine being in Ukraine or Egypt and they overthrow the government and start blowing up the churches and murdering everybody. In the case of the Arab Spring and in the case of what happened in Ukraine, I mean, this is psychotic behavior. And it's the arrogance of Soros. How has he gotten away with this for so long?
It's really extraordinary. Initially, in these in these Eastern European countries, he was viewed as a benefactor. It's extraordinary the number of people in government whose college educations he has paid for, not realizing that in return for their scholarships, they're preparing to give up their freedoms, that he plans a totalitarian state here. This guy is potentially worse than anything Adolf Hitler or Joseph Stalin ever even dreamed
Well, he
about.
said that in the 80s. He said, I believe I am the Messiah, but I didn't want to tell people that until I become the Messiah or they might lock me up. That's a quote. He believes he is the Messiah.
This guy is a common criminal who, as you know, beat his girlfriend in New York City very badly, but faced no charges as a common citizen would. It's just breathtaking, the extent to which he is seeking to undermine these governments, the extent to which he is...
Why doesn't the president really take the gloves off and criminally move against Soros right now?
Well, I believe that the president of Romania put that on the table when he met with the president last week. I believe that they are beginning to understand the grave threat that Soros poses, not only in the United States, but abroad. And why the president has not yet directed Jeff Sessions to move aggressively against George Soros is a mystery to me.
And by the way, this isn't a U.S. citizen issue. He's a multinational global crime kingpin. They should use the army on him and his cohorts. I'm serious. I mean, I would cheer the helicopters going in there. And, you know, that's just what Soros wants. We'll be right back. I've been interrupting Stone a lot just to have him jump to all these different points. Always amazing having him on. You can feel the energy. You can feel the victory. I haven't even gotten to the powerful press conferences and the White House Deputy Press Secretary annihilating them with the James O'Keefe video and saying, go watch the footage. Because that news has been out for a day. But mainstream media was ignoring it. But you see, now we have an ally in the president. And so they forced it. Now it's all over the news. They don't know what to do. And again, we already have in the aggregate more viewers and listeners than they do. But the embarrassment of them refusing to cover it. And then the control freaks seeing the president expose it and saying, go to Project Veritas, look at this, see the raw footage. They don't know what to do. Roger Stone, can you speak to that and what I believe is the death of CNN? This is amazing. Just like they banned you for a year from CNN, your name even being said, basically. Now you're all over CNN. It just shows what failures they are.
You're absolutely right. You see, the president has the bully pulpit. and he can direct American attention any place he cares to. In this case, he showed them the very fine work of our mutual friend James O'Keefe at Project Veritas, and O'Keefe nailed CNN. I say it again, CNN is not a news organization. It's a propaganda front. It's a mouthpiece for John Podesta and worse. And they were so deeply invested in Hillary's election. Wolf Blitzer, the man, he can't sleep. He can't eat. He's literally falling apart in public. He is grinding his teeth over the success of Donald Trump in terms of turning this country around. From top to bottom, the place is a disaster. Now, if I were the president, now is the ideal time to pull their White House press credentials. They're not a news organization. They don't qualify. That's my view.
Exactly. Do the bold stroke, ban them, and then every time they get caught, maybe suspend them for a month until they pledge to be a real news organization again. Absolutely. Okay, Roger, I know you've got to get back to work. Again, we've got to get your contract done here. We've both been too busy, but I'm getting that thing signed this week. We're going to have you full-time.
I am very excited about coming on for my new show at InfoWars after July 1st. We're going to take it to a whole new level.
This will be a day long remembered. We're going to see the end of the globalists. We're going to see the end of George Soros. Roger Stone, in 60 seconds, any other tidbits?
Alex, I think the president is really hit his stride here. And I am told that he is upbeat, that he is confident, that he is ebullient. And I know he appreciates what's being reported here at InfoWars. So I salute you. And again, I tell your listeners, our listeners, victory or death.
That's right, to quote Colonel Travis. That's what's amazing, though. Like you said, he's a counterpuncher. He plays nice. They pushed him, and now he's just dominating. Talk about luck. Talk about gravitas. Talk about the touch. Trump's got it. Roger, thank you so much.
Great to be here, Alex.
All right, there goes Roger Stone of InfoWars. He's going to be doing a show here 5 days a week with us, co-hosting it with Owen Schroyer at night. David Knight's going to be on a couple hours. I got to work with Ted, syndicate that, work with those folks. But I'm just a little bit behind here with all the stuff that's been going on. We're trying to hire more crew. A lot's happening here. Speaking of that, bunch of big guests coming up just briefly. We could finance ourselves so easily if we didn't have California Standard on our vitamins and minerals and supplements. California Standard is basically, there's more lead in the air than you can have in your product. But we still do it. We test till our products are California standards. I'm thinking about dropping that because it's bankrupting us at some point. But MycoZX, folks, you've heard of probiotics. This is the anti-fungus, anti-yeast. We had the first run of this. It's got an average of 4.8 stars. It sold out in 2 weeks. I thought I had a 6-month supply. You never know what the folks are into. They demonize it, the media. That was part of it. They write these hit pieces, and all their readers, especially liberals, one thing liberals know about is supplements. They know how good the good ones are. I mean, hell, Bezos just bought Whole Foods, but then his own publications attacked me for selling supplements. That's kind of weird. MycoZX is the next level probiotic. We've got it discounted out of the gates, 30% off when you get it with our Biome Defense, 50 billion live cultures. Very best from our research. Probiotic out there. Get them together. You owe it to yourself, folks. InfoWarsLife.com. MycoZX is back in another limited run, sold out for 4 or 5 months. I mean, wow. This helps fund the operation you can't lose.